Alright, you're welcome to this video. So today in this video, we'll be treating three basic things in JavaScript or in programming in general. So we are coming to treat the null, the undefined, and then the not a number. What does this mean? Let's say you are going for an interview. These basics are very necessary. You need to what they know the meaning of what the null, the undefined, and then the not a number. So in this video, we'll be treating all this. So before we start, I have an HTML file, and then I have what a small a styles.css, the CSS, and then I have what the script.js, and then I'm using what the live server extension to open it, and I'm saying that this is an H1 tag, which is what let's master the basics, and then I'm opening the browser console. All right, so let's begin. So with the null is actually what a deliberate assignment that is set by the programmer or the developer. So let me type it. So the null, this is what this is a deliberate assignment. That is what a deliberate assignment set by what the programmer. So let's say that you are programming, you are programming a website or an application, and then you want to what set, you don't want to what put any value there. So you don't want to also use the zero. So you are allowed to what to use the null. So it's it's a common practice in JavaScript in programming in general. So the developer actually sets the null value on purpose. So the null is actually what set on purpose. So let me type some notes here. Um, so so whenever you see this value, which is the null, so it's the type of, and then I want to illustrate the type of. So the type of is actually an object. So you have to also take good care of that the type of the null is an object. Take good care of it. The type of null is an object. And then the Boolean value, the default Boolean value of null is actually what? A false statement. So the Boolean is what? Is false. Alright, so let me illustrate the type of for you. So you can see that in the browser console, let me type type of and then let me say now, and then you can see that what we are getting an object. So one may ask, what's this browser console? This is what a JavaScript that is a server, a JavaScript on the server that allow you to program in JavaScript in real time, but it's actually a JavaScript console. So I can actually what type some JavaScript, say that console, let's say console, but before that let me clear this so that you understand what I'm trying to say. Let me refresh it. Let me hit refresh, and then okay. So you can see that console.log, and then I can say type of, and then into bracket null. So when I hit enter and then I open my browser, you can see that what I'm getting an object. So the type, and then they are saying that script.js, that's the name of the file, and then and then the colon, and then the 13. So you can see that here is on the line 13. So if all these basics are very necessary and very important that we need to understand. So let's check about some examples. So the now is a deliberate assignment, and then so let's go to some examples or somehow the null is used in programming. So for instance, like I said, the user cannot set the null value intentionally. And then also a common pattern of what using the null value is that you can use it to clear a value. So programmers or developers uses the null value the null to clear a value. So let's say that we are programming something. You are programming, let's say an authentication system, and then you want the user to be logged in and then the user to log out. So let's say that in the middle of our program we have let's say user, and I'm using an object is equal to, and then let's say name, and then let's say the name is Isaac, and then let me bring my semicolon. So let's say that when the user is logging, this is the code that should execute. But once the user is logged out, this one you can set the user or the user to the user to be to be now like this. Or okay, let me say that or you can say let's say user.name. So it's as in object user.name. You can set it to be to be now. So this is one way of what using what the null value. So we need to take that. This is number one. And then another thing is that we can also use the null to actually what check for null. Like we are using it what we are using to check that it's a value now. That's what I'm trying to mean. It's a value that is, let's say that the user, like this, like our case here, we want to say that is the user null or is the user logged in. So you can check that in, let's say you can use a ternary operator, or you can use case statement, and then you can also use if condition. So in this case, we are going to what we are going to use the if condition. So let's say that if a user, but this is a different example from this one above. So you can say that if, let's say if user is actually is equal to null, then we can say that console.log no user found, no user hot found. So this is also one of the ways that what we can use what the null hot value. And then like I said, the type of the null value is an object. The type of the null value is an object. So I want us to do some arithmetic operations on the null value. So we can use the console.log, and then we can do it here directly, or we can go straight into the browser console and then execute those statements or those lines of code over there. So in this case, I want to come into the browser to demonstrate it. So this is the type of the null is what is that an object, as you have here. So let's say that we want to let's say that let's add the null value to 1, and let's see what we are going to get. Let's say that, and then the null, and then let's add 1 to it. You can see that what we are getting what now we are getting 1. The null value actually coerces to what to 0. So let's say that null plus 40 plus 30, and then we are getting 30. So when you use this the null value to a numeric value, when you concatenate or you add them, you are out. The null actually coerces to what to 0. All right, let's take note of that. And then let's add it to a string, and let's see. Let's concatenate them. So let's say null, and then plus, let's say x. So we can see that they are concatenated, and then we are getting now x, which is what a string concatenation. And then this is what addition. So when you add them, the null actually coerces to what to 0. All right, so let's continue, and then let's talk about the undefined. Let's talk about the undefined also. So let me clear these values here. Let's talk about the undefined too, even in JavaScript. Let's talk about the undefined. So with the undefined, so this actually is so in JavaScript, it actually assigns an automatic value. This value, this undefined, is what automatically assigned when a variable exists but it has no value. So let's say that you have created a variable, and then this variable what exists, but with this variable that you have created, you haven't given it any value. So JavaScript actually what automatically what assigns this value of null to it. Sorry, the JavaScript actually what assigns this value of what undefined to it. So the undefined, so let me see if I can type something here. So undefined, so this is what, so this is automatically assigned when a variable exists but has no value. So when we have a value, when we have a variable and the variable exists, but this variable that we are talking about has no value, then JavaScript is what automatically assign the value as what undefined. So like I said, this is not. So let's say I have the value. So the value is undefined. Okay, so the type of undefined. So let's see the type of what undefined. The type of undefined is actually undefined. So Whereas in the type of null is an object, the type of what undefined is also what undefined. So we cannot console and log it. We can console.log it here and see. And then we see type of, and then to bracket what undefined. And then let's go into the, so you can see that what we are getting undefined here. So you let me see. Let me hit refresh. Okay, these values are still there. So let's say type of, and then undefined, and then we are getting what undefined. So the type of undefined is actually what undefined, and then the boolean of the undefined is actually what is also false. So this is a similarity between it and then what the null value, the boolean, the natural or the automatic or value of the boolean value of the undefined is actually what is false. And then we also have this thing, this conversion that is undefined equal to null, and then we are getting what true statement. So we need to what take good care of it. And then let's use the name over here, and then we will treat that later. And then you can see that what we are getting what undefined. I don't know how did I wanted to refresh it, but this thing is not. So let's see. So let's say that we have the name here. Let's name, and then we have not what assigned any value to this name variable, and then we are console and then logging this name variable, which is what an empty, and then nothing is what assigned to it. So when we console.log, let's see, we are getting what undefined on line 20 in our script.js, which is here. So when a variable is declared and then it is not assigned, this is actually what treated as an undefined. All right, so let's say that when we have missing object property, so let's say for instance let's say that we have const user is equal to what, and then this is the object is the user, and then let's say that what age is what is 25, and then age is what 25, and then let's say that that's all for the sake of this tutorial. And then we are coming here and then we are console, and then we are console.logging that console.log, let's say user.email. We know that there's no email here. So let me console.log it. Let me out and come into what? Into our terminal, into our console. And then we are getting undefined. So since this there's no what property in our object as what email, and then we are logging that one out. We are using that value. We get what undefined. All right. And then one other thing is that when a function has an argument, a missing argument, that value is what is also what is treated as what undefined. So for instance, let's say that you have function and then greet, and then let's say that you are passing the name to it. You are passing the name to it, and then inside the function we are saying that console.log, and then let's log out the name of the function, the name that we type. So and then let's call the function, and then let's see. But here we will not pass what any argument to it, but we can know that there is a parameter here. But as we are calling the function, we are not what passing any argument to it. So when we save it and then what we run this, you can see that what on line 21 we are still getting what undefined. Let's call the function here in the console because it's connected, and then let's see. Okay. Oh, let me type it. Instead of greet, I'm typing git. You can see that we are getting the undefined over here. All right. So one other thing is that when a function is declared and then the function actually has no return, then that is also what treated as what as undefined. So let me delete it, and then what let me type that. Let me give an example. Let's say that we have a function. Okay, let's call the name of the function do nothing, and then it has no return what statement. There's nothing inside the function. And then let's call this function. Okay, let's go into the console and then let's go and call this function. So let's say do nothing. That's the name of our function. Then when we run it, is we are getting what? Undefined. So this is what the meaning of that. So when a function has nothing, when there's no return statement in a function, and then what we are using that function, then we are getting undefined. Okay. One last example that I'll use is in arrays. So let's say that we have an array of numbers, but some of the arrays are missing, and then we are calling that missing array. When that array is called, we are also getting what? An undefined. So let's say that this is the name of our array. Let's say const our array. Let me name it like that, and then let me give the name. Let me give it some values. Let's say 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, but let me delete the two variable over here, and then there's nothing here. We know that this is the index of 0, and then this place is what? The index of 1, and then this is the index of what? Of 2. So okay, let's go that the name of the let's go into the for the sake of demonstration and tutorial and for easy understanding, let me actually do it here. So console.log, and then let's say that our array, and then let's pass in the value the index of what? Of 0, and then we know that we are going to get what? The value of 1. So let's check in our console, and then we are getting 1. But let's pass in the value of what? 1, which is what? This place, and then we will get what? Undefined. So yeah, as you can see, what we are getting what? Undefined. So these are some of the examples or some of the situations that you get what? Undefined. And then also let's use let's do some arithmetic operations also on undefined, and then let's find out what's that one too. So let's add an undefined to a number and see. Remember, we added an undefined to and we added a null to a number, and then it coerces to what? To value. So let's to 0 to the number. So let's see for undefined plus 1, and then let's see. We are getting not a number. So let me type it here. Undefined plus what? Plus say 47. We are getting not a number. So what is this not a number? Or what is this NaN? So the full meaning is what? Not a number. We'll be coming into it. And then, but before that, let's also concatenate undefined to a string, and then what? Let's see, to X. And then you can see that what the string is actually what? Concatenated over here. All right. So the last thing that we'll be treating in this video is what? The not a number. So what is this not a number? So let's also talk about that one too. So not a number. So when you see that this NaN, the name is what? Not a number. All right. So then not a number. This is what actually returned when a mathematical operations would fail to produce a valid number. So this is returned. So let me type it first here. This is returned when the mathematical operation word fails to provide what? A valid number. So you'll be doing some examples, and then we'll be getting to do this. Let's say that we are getting, let's say, 0 over 0. So JavaScript will fail to provide a valid number. So let me see if I've cleared everything. Okay, all these are comments. Okay, these are notes. So let's say that console.log, and then let's divide 0 by 0, and then let's see what you are going to get. Let me hit refresh. We are getting what? Not a number, which is script JS24. So let me actually type it in here, and then it will help us to understand it more or better. So let's say that 0 divided by what? 0 divided by 0. We are getting not a number, and then let's say that let's pass an integer. Let's say that we want to pass an integer to a string, and that one to what also give us what not a number. So let's say that we are passing a string, we are passing an integer out as a string, and then we are also got getting a not a number. And then if you want to find the square root of also negative numbers, that one too, let's use it math dot square root and then -1. We are getting what not a number. And then when we add undefined, like we did it in the undefined section, that one too, let's say that undefined plus what plus 4. Oh, I didn't type it well. Okay, undefined plus 4, and then we also what getting not a number. When we add undefined to a number, that one too is what an undefined. And when we subtract or we perform some addition, when we subtract, let's say a string, this string, and then let's subtract 1 from it, we are getting not a number. Let's try to see ABC. Let's see if we can concatenate it. That one works. But when we are using the subtraction, it gives what not a number. So the not a number is actually what very very contagious, as in the case of what passing an integer, a string as an integer, and what it gives us what a not a number. So the not a number is also never equal to itself. You have to note that the not a number is never equal to itself. So let's say that you have is not a number equal to not a number, then we are getting what false. And then the boolean value or the natural boolean state of the not a number is also false. So we need to take good care of all these things. Alright, so thank you for staying up to this video. So if you are interested, this video has helped you, make sure to subscribe, and if you have any question, make sure to leave them in the comment section, and then I'll be glad to attend to it. God bless you, and see you in another video. Bye bye.